started to go through on your outline. We've got on the verses. What I want to do is I want to spend time going through. I gave you all those different views, but what does the Bible teach? That's all that matters. That's all that matters. What's the Bible teach? And then we got to say, if the Bible teaches it, I need to believe it. I need to live it. I need to understand and view life that way. It needs to change me if I'm not thinking that way. All right, so we started that, and we looked at, on your notes at the bottom, we looked at as means of secondary causes that we're not going to look these up again. We're going to keep moving, but I'll just summarize them for you. Through Psalms and Acts and Colossians, he sustains us in the world. He sustains us. He upholds us. He keeps us upheld every moment. The Bible told us in Acts, in him we live, keep going with me, move, and have our being. That seems pretty comprehensive. We live, we move. I am not doing this right now. Do you understand that? Apart from God. If God says, Randy, you're not moving that arm, I wouldn't move my arm. God is that much in control. In him, we live, we move, we have our being. You know what? Let's go to the absurd of this. Give me some examples why that's important. Have you ever heard of the butterfly effect? That little story, butterfly wings flap. I don't know it exactly, didn't look it up. But it ends up being like what, nuclear war on the other side? I don't know. But this one little effect that seems so benign can do a chain of reactions. What about this one? What if on the upper room, Peter's carrying his water up the steps and whoops, trips a little bit, spills it on the step. Jesus goes to leave that night, slips and falls, out on the steps and breaks his neck. You see how I'm going to the absurd here, but the idea is God must be in control down to the very minute detail, because it can change the course of everything if not. So just from a logic standpoint, God must be, or he's not in control. All right, then we looked at we went into God's providence now extends to the natural world. We looked at Psalm 104. 104 is a great chapter to read. Go through it. It says he makes the grass grow for the cattle to eat. Not that he developed situated programs and it just happens. He makes the grass grow. That's what is involved in this world. Psalm 135:7 talks about the rain, the water evaporates, it goes up, the lightning, all that God controls with his hand and arm. We looked at Job 36:32. The lightning comes, and what's it do? Hits the mark. God controls where that lightning goes, everywhere. Think about it, it has to. Or you sure want to protect Jesus in a rainstorm out in the middle of that boat that he was in, because that lightning might hit him if somehow God's not in control of exactly where that's going to hit. Now we moved on. That's kind of where we left off. We're now into God's providence. Well, before we do that, we'll talk about this later, but I like to throw things in just to get it out. You can't, I watched TV just yesterday, and there are 3 references to this, just in TV. It's everywhere, all the time. And you hear about it. When we talk about what's going on in this world with nature, what do you always hear? Well, I hope Mother Nature is going to cooperate with this. We're going to do this tomorrow if Mother Nature doesn't do this or that. who or what is Mother Nature? Do you understand that? We even get caught. I hope you don't get caught and have that as part of your vocabulary. There is no such thing as Mother Nature. Who is it? It's God. Remember we talked about the Puritans. When it rains, they used to say, God is raining. God just says, I cause the water to evaporate. I bring down the rain. I cause the grass to grow. I do that. We're going to read some more things he does with his creation. But there's no such thing. Please put that out. Another one, natural causes. It just happened by a natural cause. Is there such? What's a natural cause? Or put it this way, who is a natural cause? God. God is the cause of all of those things. When a tornado hits, a tornado develops, it is God. Yeah. And that's, see, we used to get it. We don't anymore. That's foolish. It's Mother Nature. Who's Mother Nature? Yeah. And that is true. Sometimes we don't want to give him credit for that. When a hurricane comes, a tornado comes, God had nothing to do with this. This was Satan. Now God's going to come in and clean it up. He's American Red Cross. Okay? And he's going to clean it up. But he had nothing to do with this. He had everything to do with it. It is the finger of God. The power. When you see that, you should go, wow, our God is powerful. Wow on that. All right, so it's one of my pet peeves. I hate Mother Nature and that word of that. So don't get that out of your vocabulary and insert the correct, it's God. All right, now we left off and we'll start in called under the brute creation. God's providence extends to. Psalm 104. I have most of these, and so for time's sake, I'm just going to read them, and also so people listening will be able to hear that I'm in the wrong one. Psalm 104, 21. That's what I did. I clicked the wrong one. This is supposed to be faster. Maybe it's not. Okay, listen to this. The lions roar for their prey and seek their food from God. Do you understand? Have you ever watched a nature show? Watch the lions out on the prowl, hiding in the weeds. They're going to go out to eat. Do that. The Bible tells us the lions, they seek their food from God. That's what's going on there. God is going to provide, or he's not for them in that moment. The sun rises and they steal. They return and lie down in their dens. Then people go out to their work, to their labor until evening. How many are your works, Lord? In wisdom you made them all. The earth is full of your creatures. There is in the sea, vast and spacious, teeming. Oh, there is the sea, vast and spacious, teeming with creatures, beyond number, living things both large and small. There the ships go to and fro, the Leviathan, which you formed to frolic there. All creatures look to you to give them their food at the proper time. You get that? That's how involved God is in this world. Every creature, it says, all creatures, look to him to give them their food in the proper time. You watch any show, you watch a bird, they go out there and they find a worm in the ground. I'm mowing. I don't know about you guys. Do you ever see, are they swallows or whatever? They're like, zoom, zoom. They're diving past me, getting the little stuff I go up in the grass as I mow. That's the hand of God. You want to say, well, I don't see the hand of God anywhere. That's the hand of God if they're eating. He provides their food. Everyone. That is God at work. 28. When you give it to them, they gather it up. Listen to this. when you open your hand, they are satisfied with good things. God opens his hand and they eat. When he closes his hand, they don't. That is what's going on in this world, and the depth and the intimacy and involvement of God. That clear down to those animals. Last verse. When you hide your face, they are terrified. When you take away their breath, they die, return to dust. Every animal's death is in God's hands. Whenever you see an animal die, whatever, no matter where, God's hand was there and involved in his timing. I want you to start looking at the world this way, seeing these things, and then talk to God about it. I mean, remember Romans 1, I gave you all this creation, you know of me, you can see all this stuff. Well, if it's Mother Nature, see what man does? That's not God, that's Mother Nature. Okay, you take that completely away. We need to look and see all this as the hand of God. And then praise him for it. Because what did they do? They knew he was God, but they didn't what? They didn't glorify him, did not honor him as God, and did not give, this is key, big one, thanks. We are to be thankful people all the time. And all these things sometimes we don't even attribute to God. We don't even thank him for that. That is a sin to not do that. All right. Where'd I go now? Brute, keep me online here. All right, Matthew 6. All right, look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. So if the other one wasn't clear enough, repeat it again. This is spoken by Jesus, Sermon on the Mount. Are you not much more valuable than they? If God feeds the birds and all that, what does he do for us? 10:29. Talked about this again. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground outside your Father's care. Now, does that mean, wow, he really likes sparrows? What's the point of this verse? He's going to watch over and take care of the sparrows. A sparrow was it was nothing. It was a small, almost insignificant probably to their minds. Yet if God is going to be that involved in an insignificant creature's life, to where it doesn't die or fall, anything without his hand, that's how much he cares. Remember, God is a CEO. He does the big things. No. Clear down the small things, the sparrow even. So how much more does he take care of us and all the rest of the world? That's the point of that. In the natural, God's providence extends to the natural. Oh, we did that. To the affairs of man. 2 Chronicles 16. Let the heavens rejoice. Let the earth be glad. And let them say among the nation, the Lord reigns. Now this is not R-A-I-N, it's R-E-I-G-N-S. The Lord reigns. What do you have to do in order to reign? What's that? You got to be king. You got to be in control. He reigns over all. The Bible is very clear. He is not a watchmaker that sits back and does nothing about this. Let's go on. Psalms 47:7. For God isn't, of course, if we didn't know this, for God is the king of all the earth. Now, here's something different. He's not the president of the world. We know a president in this world, where we live. He's not the president. He's the king. That's different. What's the difference? Well, president, when he goes to pass or do something, what else has to happen in our country? Yeah, Congress has to go look at our approve, vote, all this collaboration, checks, balances. There's no such thing for that for a king. The king reigns. His word is good. His word goes out. It is final. It controls all. That's God on this earth. He's a king. All these things I think are things we know, but don't stop to think about it. God is providential even over my throat. So understand that. All right. Proverbs 21:1. I like this from the NASB, so I'm switching. Hold on. The king's heart is like channels of water in the hand of the Lord. He turns it wherever he wishes. There are a lot of people that always go in and say, well, yeah, God's in control of all things. But clearly, he never touches what men do in their actions and thinking, their will. He never touches that. God doesn't touch that. That's a great thought. It's just not biblical, unfortunately. So since that case, throw it out. The king's heart. It's like gentle. Hey, now this is the king, whose word is final, who makes all the decisions for this country, everything about it. That guy is in God's hand like this, and God says, I want him to say no on this thing. I go like that. I want him to say yes. I go like that. I control that. I determine that. What he goes and what he thinks and what he does. That's the involvement of our God in this world. Job 12:23. He makes nations great and destroys them. He enlarges nations and disperses them. If you look around the world and what's going on, just watch the news. People watch the news and I hear all this stuff. You know what the news is all about? God. If you don't get that, what's God doing in history? That's why I love history. You go back and look at history. Does anybody else like history? There's always a few of us, and there's other ones who go, history is what was God doing? Look what he's doing. It's fun. What do you think God's... We don't always know the whys and all, but look at this. Look what he does, and look how he moved this country and did this, brought this person up, brought this person down, did this. That's all God. It's his actions, it's his arm, is moving and doing that. That's why we don't get, what I want to say, right word, anxious, concerned, panicked, frightened over what's going on in this world. It's God's hand, and it's all there. And his hand is also on me. And so I trust and do that. Yes, well. Cleaning up what God messes up. That's what we think sometimes. No, it means I like Doyle's famous line, get all you can all you get, and sit on the can. The answer is this. And and she's my wife, so I can that's why I'm giving her such a tough time. But here's the issue. We don't know the full what's the whys and all this. We're going to get to this at some point, but there's a concurrent providence is what it's called. As we act under God's control and we make choices that we're responsible for, God is also acting in that same act, accomplishing all his will. How does that work? I haven't the slightest. That's why he's God and we're not. But he's that big that as you make decisions, and you're going to be held accountable for them, we all are. we stand before him to be judged. Providence does not throw that out. We think it does, but it doesn't. The Bible tells us it doesn't. So we're going to be held responsible, and those decisions we make will only accomplish the will and the plan of God, even though you're making a decision and choice. How does that do that? I don't know.
Like our approach to salvation, we might say God will save whom he's going to save. So that means that we don't have to share the gospel, right?
Right.
I don't agree with that, right? So God has providence there, but that's not a justification for him.
The means are also part of his plan and action.
I would say the same thing that what she was asking about was, he's in the news, the news is what he's doing, and he's acting in this world. That's not justification for us not to act, to say he's just going to do whatever he's going to do.
Right.
So I think our response to the news or whatever is our witness as Christians, and the world should see our worldview through our reaction to the news, which might be to call this out as wrong, or to offer solutions that are alternatives or whatever it's going to be, but we can't just not act on it, I think.
Right. I agree with all that. Here's the issue. The bottom line, though, for all this, I do know this. You're called not to be hopeless. Don't look at this world and go, what's going on? It's hopeless. God's in control. God's plan's being accomplished. Okay? Doesn't mean I don't act. Doesn't mean I don't do the things that I'm called to do in the Scripture. The main thing we're called to do is what? Be a witness to all the ends of the world of God. Okay? This is the main thing we're supposed to be doing as Christians. Okay? This world's going to perish. So we can clean it up, get it up, do what we want, raise the level of morality from year to year. None of that really accomplishes anything. The key thing is being witnesses for the Lord out, accomplishing our Great Commission. That's the main focus of the church and the Christians. But in this stuff, the great way to be a witness is you're not hopeless and anxious and doing things where it appears that you don't believe that God's in control of all this. That's the way we're supposed to react and act on all these things. All right. What's the next one here? Because it keeps going. Doesn't end. That was just the beginning of this topic. Daniel 21 or Daniel 2:21. He changes times and seasons. Do you know? I always like that. I always like when the people will say, "This world, we're not going to have summer anymore, or winter." Or this is good. No, God says you're going to have 4 seasons. Well, it's going to be there. So, you know why? Why? How do we know? First of all, he tells us in Scripture. What does that mean then? He's in control. He's going to make sure there's 4 seasons. It's not you. It's not me. It's not global warming. It's not anything else. I'm not saying that we don't look in things and take care of this earth. We do. We got to take care of this earth and things. But there will always be 4 seasons because God says so. He changes times and seasons. He deposes kings and raises up others. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to the discerning. He deposes kings and raises them up. What do we know about our president? Whoever he is. God put him there. That's a tough one for us at times, right? Especially right now for a lot of us. We go, no way. Yes way. And so God has put him there. Well, does that mean he loves everything he's doing? No. Does he hear that? No. Sometimes God gives us, what did he do? Who did he raise up in Egypt? Moses. Well, good answer. Not the one I wanted, but good answer. Good answer. He did raise Moses up. Who else did he raise up? It says, Pharaoh. He raised up Pharaoh, put him in. This guy who is hard-hearted and would not let them go and do this. He did it for a purpose, to display his power and that all the world may know that he is God. So there's purposes for all things that God does. We think it should be this way or this way. God says, no, it's this way because it's the best. and I have a plan and a purpose. We need to not fight against that in that sense, but see and understand, and here's a big word, trust God. Even if it's unto death. Okay? Even if it's unto death, that's trust and faith. All right. One more on this topic. Daniel 4:25. Actually, I got two more, sorry. This is God speaking to Nebuchadnezzar. You will be driven away from people and will live with the wild animals. You will eat grass like an ox and be drenched with the dew of heaven. 7 times, which means 7 years, will pass by for you until you acknowledge that the Most High is sovereign over all kingdoms of the earth. He's sovereign over all the kingdoms. Nebuchadnezzar, remember, got a little prideful, said, look at this great kingdom of mine that I built. God's teaching a lesson. No. I do that. You don't. You didn't. He says, until you realize the Most High is sovereign over all kingdoms of the earth, and listen to this, and gives them to anyone he wishes. He gives them to anyone he wishes. Can we go this? Even Hitler was raised up for a purpose by God. Okay? We have to understand that's where the providence of God goes. This is why I said earlier, the providence of God is easy to understand as far as his hand is in all things at all times, never control. The difficult thing is sometimes the application and working through in our minds of how that fits into his plan and why. But we can never throw out providence. Some people do that. Well, he's not in control. Because if he's in control, there's no way our current president went there. There's no way Hitler would be in there. It's no way. And the answer is you're wrong. Okay, because the Bible tells us just the opposite of that. All right, one last one. It's not in your notes. You can write this or in if you want. Sometimes I think of ones afterwards. John 19, verses 10 and 11. Let me read this. So Pilate said to him, this is to Jesus, you do not speak to me. This is what he's at his trial. Do you not know that I have authority to release you? And I have the authority to crucify you? Pilate's sitting there saying, Jesus, don't you get this? I'm the guy in charge here. I'm the guy, I'm the ruler here. Jesus answered, you would have no authority over me unless it had been given you from above. For this reason, he who delivered me to you is far greater, did a far greater sin. So, think about this. Pilate did have authority over Christ in that sense, in that moment. But Jesus corrected him providentially. He's telling him, listen, you've got authority right now with this, but it's only because it was given you by God. If God says, you don't have that authority, you don't have that authority anymore. He controls all that. Every single thing and decision that goes on by authority, anywhere, everywhere, down from, we always talk about it at the king level, the providential, or the president level, whatever. This goes clear down to your boss's level in work, anywhere in the home, the church, all this is by the hand of God, and no one has authority unless God grants it to him. He's in control of all things. All right, any questions, comments on that? Oh, good. We'll start this way and we'll work our way over. Kathy. Like Pharaoh. Exactly. Yeah. Now here's the question. What if, let me throw this out. I'm just shooting here. But let's say even something like that, possibly extended even to something in our country sometime and started to go on. Persecutions of different things. What do we usually say? God, how can you do this? What's going on? You don't like this. Does our nation deserve to be what's what am I looking at? Judged with the wrath of God? Absolutely, we do. We are a very wicked nation. Okay, otherwise, other nations have been judged for the things that we're doing as a nation. So if things happen, sometimes remember Habakkuk. It's a great one if you there. He's looking around his country saying, there's so much evil going on in our country, Lord. What's going on? Can't you fix it? What do you do? How are you allowing this to go on? He goes, God says, you know what? I got this, Habakkuk. I'm going to bring down the Chaldeans. Come over here and take care of this. Put my wrath upon you. Then Habakkuk goes, wait. That's like saying, well, I'm going to send Russia over. Take care of you Americans because you're not doing what you're doing. They're worse than us. They're worse than us. What are you doing? He goes, yeah, that's right. When they're done with them, I will judge them. Do it too. So oftentimes what's going on there is sometimes there's judgments and wrath. And the judgment and wrath of God in this scenario is a mercy. Because it's an ultimate judgment coming that's eternal. So these are warnings. Remember the Tower of Siloam that fell on people? He said, were they worse? No. It's a warning to all of you. Repent, be ready to die, whatever. So all these things, like you said, even in judgment, there's mixed in grace. Wonderful things, wonderful stories. God's people being faithful under God's judgment. That's what we're called to do. See, that's the whole point of this. And I want to go, there may be times we find ourselves under judgment in these areas. We need to be honoring God during that time. Not in the sense of fighting against his will and praying, but honoring him in that, trusting him. He'll keep us through that, or he'll let us be part of the death. But he owns my life. I don't own it. But if I think I own it, then how dare he touch it? See, that's what we got to watch in our things. All right, I had some others first, and I got these, but right, we can do that. Now, what is homosexuality and transgenderism and all these issues? Romans 1 tells us what it is. That's sin, but why is it? There's gossip, there's slander. Those aren't any worse than those things. Not honoring God, ignoring God, I do that. Ungodliness, that's just as bad as homosexuality, transgenderism. All those things are just as bad. But when it says in Romans 1, it's a judgment. It's a judgment upon us in this world. You don't want to honor me as God. You don't want to give me thanks. You know I exist. You don't. I'm going to turn you over. And then you're going to go out and do things unspeakable things with your bodies that are not right. It's all a judgment of God. Now, so part of this is a judgment of God. And to say those things, part of it is, if Jesus were here today, how would he be salt and light with them? That's what we always got to watch. He would probably sit down and eat with them. He did with the tax collectors and the prostitutes when he was here. And he had also tried to love them and to change. So we also don't want to condone the sin, and we know it's against God in those ways. So we don't ever do that. But I don't think we're never called to take a gun and go into an abortion clinic and shoot somebody because of that and do those things either. So I always want to be, when they say salt and light, we do those things. How would Jesus be salt and light? How was Paul salt and light and do those things? So yes, we never condone those. We never say it's right. We never say this is the right they have to be. We speak the truth of God, but we also have to love them as Christ would love them.
There is a blessing to us thinking through all these things. We're wrestling with things even in our own family, and there's a blessing to wrestle with God on these issues. And I think of the parable of Jesus. There are examples in Scripture where you're pleading with God and you're wrestling on these issues. You know something's wrong, and somehow God's doing a number of things at the same time. He's
10,000 things are probably going on at once.
judging the wickedness. He's bringing me to my knees, and he's judging things in my own life.
And he's going to bring someone into your life that now you need to witness and show the love of Christ to.
Look at Jeremiah. In one of the most darkest times in history, that guy had to wrestle with God.
Yeah. He had not one convert.
Proclaiming truth at the same time, and somehow coming through that, God was still doing some redemption. It seemed to him.
Yeah.
There was a blessing of Jeremiah, blessing to others.
Yeah. Sometimes he does things so that when he judges at the end time, it's a right, just judgment. We miss that in God sometimes. But yes, Jeremiah, I knew they're not going to come to you. It's a judgment upon them. And I do that. But you're going to preach.
He was told his message was not going to be.
Not one person will come. But preach it anyway, because I want to use, God's word always goes out, accomplishes exactly what it's supposed to. Either it melts a heart and brings it in, or it hardens a heart. And the hardened heart, then his judgment will come in, which is right and true and holy. Sometimes it melts the heart and it brings it in. And then we praise and honor God for his mercy and his grace. That's why it's the whole point of all this is all these things are going to be hard to really wrestle and figure to the 10th degree. Bottom line is this, you have to remember, is that God's in control of this. God is here. God is not outside of this. This isn't happening to God. Okay, and somehow I've got to help, and I still see people do that. They go to the idea that somehow God is up in heaven and he can't do anything about it right now, and he just wants this America just to get better so that he really will like us better, and we've got to clean this up for him so he's happier and all that. And that is not the case. God is actively involved. His hand is in all things. He is accomplishing his will, his plan, and it's being accomplished. When we see the world as it is right now, exactly the way it has gone 100% exactly to the plan of God. And we don't often think it that way. We think, wow, God's plan's gone away, a mess, and it's gone off tracks. And somehow this is just horrible. We got to help God get it back on track. And God says it's going exactly as my hand is moving. Not that he condones, got to watch this. He's not the author of sin. He is not the initiator of sin. His hand never sins. His hand is always involved in the action, but never the sin of the action. The sin is man. You see that with Joseph. Remember, brother, we've been doing through that. You meant it for evil, brothers, when you sold me into slavery. God, in the same act, same hand, doing all this, meant it for good. An evil act was purposed by God to bring out his end and his plan. What's the greatest event? We have Moses. What's the greatest one? The cross. Sinful men's actions resulted in our salvation. That's God's plan. How does he do this and how does he work this all? That's why he's God. My point is just to not ever, since I don't understand something, throw it out. God is in control. His plan is always there. Man is responsible, doing actions that we're called to do and do this. We will be judged for those in that way, but none of our actions ever do anything but accomplish the plan of God. I got so many. Zach, I skipped you. Are you okay?
Yeah, I think I have too many things to say now.
And this is good. This is what Providence will do. It starts your wheels spinning, and then you go, what about this? But what about that?
What I will say, I think looking
Is that
I would like to pull us
all that's wrong either way? Two things. I see two errors. I see two errors. The error that God's plan, God's in control, I will do nothing. Okay? Like you said, Providence. That's wrong. That's not what Providence says. You have actions, you're held accountable, and you must do this, and you will be judged. So clearly, if I go that route, I have misinterpreted the Bible, and I'm doing exactly wrong with the word. The other side is this. Somehow, my actions are going to determine this. My actions are going to bring it about. My actions are going to do all this. And the answer to that is, no, it's not. If God's actions wants it to be done, it will. And if it's not,
I think there's I agree, two dichotomies that I see that are stark. The one we talked about is salvation, that God's going to save, he's going to save. I'm not going to save this person, but I'm going to go ahead and preach the gospel because I'm supposed to. On the other end is our own health care. How much do we think that we control our health? I think we do. Now, in God's sovereignty, we don't control it, but we still do things like we
right,
try to eat well, we go to the doctor when we're sick, we try to treat diseases, whatever.
right.
I guess
It's the, can I tell you,
that's the action that we should have in all of our lives
it's the attitude.
to respond. Yes,
It's the attitude with the action. That's the key. Not saying not to have actions. We're called to do action. We're called to go. We're called to do good works, which he prepared beforehand. Figure that one out. Okay? There's a providential statement. But the issue is, it's the attitude with my actions. If I think my actions, are bringing it about, like either apart from God or for God, in that sense. No, see, that's the point. It's the attitude with that, and what we do, and because then I do an action, I did everything right, and the result wasn't what I wanted. Clearly, God is upset in heaven. Yes, there you go. Clearly, God's upset. Clearly, God, we got to do something else, and that's see what I'm saying. The results are God. The actions are ours. The attitude is what we have to watch in those things and how we live and what we trust. Do I trust and settle when the answer is no with my action or not? And see, that's the point we got to get. It's our attitude. Yeah, yeah. The Bible's these are difficult things, and I'm going to get to it, but I'll do it right now. Is there's verses that says Philippians 2:13, 12 and 13. Work out your salvation with fear and trembling. Well, it sounds like I need to be doing something. Yes, very clearly. Can that verse get any clearer? So yes, you need to. Don't throw that out. Don't lessen it. But the next verse says, "For it is God who is at work with you, both to will, to want to do it, and to be able to do it." Well, which one is it? Yes, that's the answer. But we have a tendency to throw one or the other out and do that, and a lot of times it shows up in our attitude of the action, not the action itself. We're never called to be inactive. We're called to be active, but with the right attitude. I got to get Morgan, then I'll come back to Dave. Well, that's what they do. They want to protect God. He didn't do this. He didn't bring that tornado. That was Satan. Maybe that's dualism. He didn't do this. You got cancer, but it wasn't God. Okay, you got cancer and you got healed. Okay, that was God. But you got cancer and you died. That was not God. Yeah, it was God. All those things. It's a matter of us trusting in His plan. Understand, knowing that my life isn't mine. Doesn't belong to me. This whole earth belongs to God. He can do as He pleases, and He does. Okay, but what pleases Him is the best thing for me, even though I don't understand it at the time. That's how. Look at Job's life, how he ended up. I bet he wouldn't trade what he did. His family all got killed. Habakkuk, Joseph. We're going through Joseph and all this. As he goes through, it was all for a plan and a purpose. When Joseph was in that pit, I bet Joseph didn't go, you know what? I bet I'm going to get sold. I bet I'm going to be made second in command in Egypt. And this is going to work out great. He had no clue. But you trusted in the providence of God. You have evidence of that in Joseph's life. Even his brothers understood providence, thinking God was against them when they put the money back in their bags. They understood providence. They just didn't understand how and what He's doing. And neither do we. It doesn't matter. You're not called to figure it out. You're called to trust and to know that He is good. He's in control. And there is nothing that's going on right now that is out of His control and out of His plan. That gives me great comfort and great things to rest on in that. Okay? And now go out and do as He called you to do. And the results will be His. I mean, it's a simple Christian life in that sense. Yep, it's just that the key thing for providence is this should give us all great comfort, great assurance as we look at this world and earth that God's in control, bringing out His plan. Now, do the things you know that God has called you. Do the good works God's called you to walk in that He prepared beforehand. Yeah, you got that, but here's what you always got to watch. I've seen some people become that's their ministry. That's it. They don't talk the gospel. They don't talk about God's mercy and grace. They don't talk about His forgiveness and those things. They talk about, let's go get them. Come on. And that kind of attitude. And then what I usually find in those churches is they hate homosexual people. They hate transgender people. I hate those people. Okay? That stuff. Is that what we're called? No. So, no, I'm not saying you are. I'm saying that's the balance. No, that's the balance. We got to call it out.
But we can't just go to one side or the other. I think there's a balance.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Is I've seen people go off in both directions on tangents. So to say that we don't speak that there's truth, sure. We go out and say those. All we got to do is preach the word. if we as a church preach the word, you're going to come across all that. What we do is that Jesus did. That's a very simple, easy way to do that. Not ignoring passages, not teaching verse by verse. Verse by verse will do that. That's why we do it here at Westward. But I've also seen churches become, that's their Great Commission. Their Great Commission becomes to attack sin. Whereas Jesus, the greatest of sinners, he didn't go out and say, you prostitutes, you sicken me. You're wrong. This is terrible and you're wrong. He didn't ever condone prostitute, but he also didn't make that his ministry. That's my point through all this.